of this StreamYard and change up my tech platform. We are live. I know things you didn't even know about, things I don't like. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Unmuted and happy Friday. We have Amber with us. But before we dive in to welcoming Amber, just to let folks know who haven't been here before, Unmuted is a platform for female leaders to just have a voice, have a space to share their experiences in leadership and their journeys. So super excited to welcome Amber. I've been doing this work for 18 years, which is crazy, in the social impact consulting space and coaching. And I've just met some really amazing ladies. And it's like, how can other people meet them too, other than, well, I met Amber because I stalked her on LinkedIn, truth be told.
I didn't know stalking was involved, but I knew we met on LinkedIn, but fair.
Well, I read your posts. I don't know if that's considered stalking or engaging, but I would say so. But I just happened to find you and reading your beautiful content that you write about the amazing work that you do, and just like reading that, I found you, and it was just so cool. And other women, it's like you meet them at conferences, or maybe you only know they exist because you happen to be at that conference. And so I've just come across some amazing folks in my journey and that have taught me some really amazing things or enlightened me. And so this space is to share that with everybody else. Another exciting announcement is next Friday, we're going to host the Unmuted Power Lab, which is a networking space just for women. So go ahead and sign up. There's some stuff on LinkedIn about it. I'll be posting about it. You can definitely reach out to me and give me your email. I can send you something. But it's a free networking space. It's 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm super excited. We have over 100 women registered, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have some fun. There will be some intimate breakout spaces for really intentional networking. So come and join us if you're looking to connect with other women. One other announcement I have is I just met another amazing woman, Helene Rose. Helene, I don't know if you're here, but she has this incredible organization called Be Brilliant Network. And Amber, you probably love to hear this. It is a free space online. You can go and sign up. I actually signed myself up because I wanted to check it out. But it's really for like around mental health and just wellness. It's a space where you can connect with licensed practitioners, experts in the field, people who are certified, when maybe like talk therapy isn't enough or isn't really like hitting where you want it to hit. But we know it's so hard with insurance to find something else, or like, where do I go? Or there's so much stuff online, or is this person legitimate? And let me just tell you, I'm actually going to look over at the list right now, because I was like, what kind of class, like what kind of courses do they have? We're talking like basic energy management, knowing your power, mini memoirs that matter, Tai Chi for vitality, the power of presence. So there are like some really cool things in there, and that's just like the short list. So check out BeBrilliantNetwork.com. It's free. Helene is an amazing leader as well. She's going to be with us next Friday. And she's a speaker, a comedian, a facilitator. So anyway, check out Be Brilliant Network. Just wanted to put that out there. Also, oh, hi, Helene, she's here. Put in the chat where you're joining from. It's always a lot of fun to see where folks are tuning in from all over the world. We've had folks join from Africa, Canada, Ohio, California, all over the place, Germany. So put in the chat where you're joining from, and join the conversation too. I hope folks are using this space to network with each other, engage with our guests. Amber has been amazing to engage with. And I always love connecting people to her because of the amazing work she's doing. But yeah, take the space to engage with other leaders that are here today. Look each other up on LinkedIn and reach out to one another, because that's how we make this work happen. So without further ado, we have Amber with us. And Amber, why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah,
Tell everyone who you are.
I'd love to. Well, thanks for having me, Paige. I am honored. I always enjoy our conversations. But for everybody watching, hi, my name's Amber. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce. So get to work with students and help make sure that they are aware and career ready post-graduation, and then follow on the other side, working with industry groups and local employers to make sure they have the talent they need, and that the talent they have is skilled and trained and ready to work and have great jobs here in Forsyth County. So I've been here at the Chamber for 2 years as of December. So love the work I get to do, and yeah, just excited for our conversation.
I must have met you not long after you started at the Chamber, and I was just like, seriously, I've done workforce development. We talk about content, most of my career, I've been around that. And so just seeing some of the like innovative ways that you were partnering with folks, especially on the systems level, is so challenging and or can be challenging just because so many different things happening at each different system. It's just so amazing to read all of that stuff. And you do such an amazing job putting it out there that I hope other folks are watching in the workforce development space. Yeah.
No, it's a team effort for sure. Workforce development is a team sport for sure. And really lucky to have just such great partners in our school system and our local higher ed and our employers. So it's just a lot of fun, especially when all those partners want to work together. So
yeah, it does take an ecosystem, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And partnership is fun. It's messy, but it's always, I think, fueled by great intentions. And so just excited about what we've accomplished in the 2 years and what's to come.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's dive into our questions.
Yes.
We have just a few questions we've been asking everybody around leadership and your journey. It's actually been really cool to see some of the common threads throughout some of these folks' answers, and then also some ways people diverge along their journey. I don't know. It's been really interesting because we're asking everyone the same questions. All right. So our first question is, what mindset shift have you had along your leadership journey that impacts the way you lead today?
Yeah. So Paige, when you sent over these questions, I'm not gonna lie, I sat down with my journal and I was like, I got nothing. So I really like to read them over. Because I'm like, have I changed my mind? You don't realize how much your mind's changed from, the time you start your career until where you're at. But I was thinking about for a long time, and I think as a young female leader, I just was so grateful to be in rooms. And I think the mindset shift for me that's made the biggest difference is I'm here for a reason. And I think, and it's not just so I can say something at the table but I'm not just grateful to be here. I've been asked to be in this room for a reason. And how can I add value? And, I'll get into it a little bit later, but I started my career in middle school, youth ministry and working with college ministry to now doing workforce and economic development. And there's a certain degree of imposter syndrome of I played kickball. We did Nerf and nachos and those were the metrics I was hitting. But to now be working at something at a different level. And there, I think there's just a sense in a lot of young female leaders of well, I should just be grateful to be here. And I'll just kind of make myself small and just absorb as much as I can. And I think it's really just to realize whatever age you are, but especially for young leaders, if you've been invited into a room, if that calendar invites in your inbox, they want you there for a reason. And so show up and add value and especially do your homework, right? Don't show up unprepared. I meet with a lot of manufacturers and I have no idea, I've never spent a day in manufacturing, but just doing that 10-15 minute dig on okay, what do they make? Or who are they working with? Or what does that process look like? I think is probably the biggest shift in my career so far is how every space I'm invited to, every meeting that comes up on my calendar, how can I add value? And I think that's really served me well.
Yeah, I think too, that goes along with, it kind of counters that feeling of imposter syndrome or I'm just so glad to be here. Because those are really good points. That, but when you're prepared, and you take a little time, to make sure you know what's happening, because you can't know everything. Like you said, you've never been in the manufacturing space. How would you know certain things?
Exactly.
But you can add different value in the space when you've done a little prep work.
And I think too, like, I think there's something to be said. Like, I was having a conversation with a young, a lady who's like really early in her career, and she's like, I get so overwhelmed. And I think sometimes adding value is just being that person, like when the presenter's speaking, like making eye contact, or like if you're like taking notes. And I don't think you have to like come out of the gates and like be the most informed person in the room. But I think that like the hunger to learn and the hunger to add value is really what helps you grow in your career. But also like being around other people who are like that, or like it's exciting to be around people who want to learn, or who are engaged. And I don't know, like honoring whoever's speaking, I feel like has opened the doors to other opportunities. And so I know that's probably like maybe the simplest answer you've probably gotten on the show. I'm sure other people are more profound. But for me, I mean, it really, and it's something I still remind myself, like I'm here for a reason. Like how can I add value? And like I'm saying, you gotta say, like, come out of the gates and take charge of the meeting, like by no means. But I think, to not allow yourself to limit your own self when it comes to opportunities or projects or whatever it is you're working on.
But you're spot on, because it's really a mindset shift, right? Like you don't have to come in and take control of the meeting, but if you're internally able to shift your mindset and thinking, okay, I am here for a reason, it builds your courage.
Absolutely.
And then that just extends into so many other amazing things. I like to, like, you made a really good point about don't make yourself small.
Yeah.
Because I think we tend to do that thinking it's a safe space. Like I can stay here and know, if maybe somebody won't call on me because I don't know so much about manufacturing, that type of
thing. Yeah.
Right.
Or even that awkward like pre-moment before a meeting starts, right? You walk into a boardroom and maybe you don't know anybody in the room. And so you're like, okay, I'm just like going to sit here with my stuff and like being like pushing yourself to be like, hey, I'm Amber. I'm with the chamber. Like, what do you do? Or just like building those relationships. And it's funny, I spoke to, we have University of North Georgia right up the road. And I spoke to a group of super smart cybersecurity students who will go on to do amazing things. But afterwards, I had two girls stay and talk with me. And they were like, that thing you said about networking stuck with me. And my advice to them was like, go to a networking event and force yourself to say hello to 4 people. And then you can leave. Like that's all you have to do. Right. But you're going to initiate 4 interactions. And like, for senior level career professionals are probably like, whatever. But I think for those of us who are early and just really getting started, like, I think not being afraid and not making yourself small, even in those moments, is so important.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even for senior level career folks, I mean, I've coached women that they're an executive director of a foundation, but they feel like they're almost stuck there. They don't know where to go or grow because they don't network, or they have that fear, which I think we all do, unless you're just a total outward person. There are some struggles, I think, for all of us in some way. And so you lean into that comfort, and then before you know it, 20 years has gone by and your circle is the same. You're in the same place. Not that you're not adding value in that space, but again, to your point of like making yourself small, it happens quick, even for folks who are more seasoned. So it is really good advice for young professionals to push through that. I had a cat join me on my lap for a second, to push through that, because it can be uncomfortable to network, but it is a really important skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Question number 2.
Let's do it.
What risk have you taken that shifted everything for you?
Man, so I mentioned it a little while ago, but I spent 10 years in church ministry. Went to school there, was brought on staff. It was my world, and I loved it, and I felt like I was made for it. And like just in your gut when you're like, I feel like I've done this thing, or I've brought it as far as I can go. And I might need to step out of the way for it to get to its next level was terrifying. And I was at that point, I was like, I don't think ministry is the next step for me. So what is? And it was terrifying. I mean, that had been all I knew for so long. So to exit and to go on to what was next was terrifying because like I mentioned earlier, doing dodgeball and Nerf nights and lock-ins isn't really a tangible resume rewrite. No one's like, how many cookies did you serve over 10 years? But it was really a point in my life where I had just turned 30 and was just starting to kind of rewrite like the story of what I was going to do professionally, and had good friends and had coaching and counseling in that season. But you can have all the coaches and counselors you want, but if you don't you're the one who has to have the conversation, and you're the one who has to have the tough conversation or begin to exit. And I remember being like sick to my stomach for like a month leading up to the conversation. But that risk has, is it far enough in the rearview mirror now that I'm like, oh yeah, just make it like that makes sense. And I'll be honest, my first move afterwards, I did tech sales for a couple months. Okay. Fantastic company, too extroverted to sit in a call box. So it was hard to go from something I loved so much to then my next step be something that I was like, oh, this might not be for me. And then kind of stumble into chamber work and have been doing that for the last couple of years. Is zooming out, the whole path makes sense. But really just taking that risk to leave what I knew and I loved to kind of get out of the way, but also to see what was next for me was absolutely terrifying.
What gave you the courage to do that?
Caffeine. No, Paige, that was a good question. I think the courage was one, realizing I had to get out of my own way, and all the things I would say to my students were things I was actively walking through, and I'm like, okay, you gotta put your money where your mouth is. But two, like at my core, like adventure and new things are exciting. And so I think that made it easier to hit go, but it definitely wasn't easy. And there was a lot of hard conversations and a lot of questions around why would you leave and why would you want to do this? And so looking back, I'm so glad it's over. I talk about it all the time. But I think those years there really prepared me for what was next. But having friends in my corner who coached me, and I had a good friend of mine who actually officiated my wedding, who we would get on the phone and we would like role play what the conversation was going to be like for me to be like, hey, I'm leaving, I'm exiting. And having those kind of people in my corner, I think was what really gave me the courage to go, okay, this season's over. Here's what's next for me.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, like in the first question and in this question, one thing that gave you that courage, I feel like in both scenarios, was your preparedness. Was your, it sounds like you were really reflecting on like, what do I need to know if this is the right decision? What do I need to do to know if this is the right decision? Who do I need to talk to? And I feel like we often don't give ourselves the time or space
for sure
for that, but proof, taking that time and space can really help you light the right path, even though the tech sales was not the forever next step.
Right.
All of that process helped you take a step. And I feel like, that's one of the biggest hindrances for ourselves, even when we have a mindset shift, is like taking that step and having, the courage or whatever it is to be able to do that. The preparedness, the network. That's awesome.
And I think, and this might sound so goofy, but like, I remember like when I was like, okay, I'm going to exit, I'm going to go to what's next. And was like, I'm proud of myself. And, and I think as adults, like we don't ever go like we like, I tell my nieces and nephews, like, like I tell people in my life all the time, like, I'm so proud of you. But like, I remember like, there was like this, like, like a new level of confidence of like, I'm proud of myself for walking through this step. And I think I kind of put some of that in the bank for maybe when that happens again in the future.
Yes.
But it's not easy. And you know, I had a conversation yesterday. I think a lot of people like do get stuck, right? And that courage definitely comes from a lot of places, but it's, you know, having the right people in your corner makes all the difference.
Yeah. And they always say leaning into the discomfort is where we really start to grow. If it's a bit uncomfortable, you're probably doing it right. Because otherwise you're just in your comfort zone. It's hard to shift things, you know, when we're just sitting back.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we're going to dive into our last question. If you're just joining us, let us know where you're joining from. I know some new folks have jumped in. And Francisco, he made a good point in the chat. He said, like any other skill, there are exercises to get better at networking. And it's so true. It just takes practice. Even to your point, Amber, of like, just go and say hello to 4 people. Or when I'm coaching folks, I'll give them homework on networking. I'm like, okay, before we're together again, you have to go to one event or talk, you know, have coffee with one new person. But yeah, there are a ton of skills that you can practice to get better at networking, because
absolutely,
I don't think it's something we're born knowing how to just do.
No, not do well. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're all trying to fumble through this world and figure it out. Okay, our last question. What leadership lesson have you chosen to unlearn?
So this is what I back to the journal. I sat with for a minute. I think that for me, the one I had to unlearn was the leadership that was modeled for me at the beginning of my career was like, leadership is lonely. You're at the top. It's a grind. Get stuff done. And if somebody like questions your leadership or like asks, you know, like ask why or whatever, just like kind of basically like be like, well, I'm like, I have the final say. So that's why we're going my way. And I tried that on and it was just a jacket that never fit. It is a quick way to like be a very easily hated person. Yeah. And so I think for me, like, I think that unlearning that, and I think kindness is a superpower. And not kindness in a way of like, you know, like I live in the South, so like not like that, like bless your heart kind of kindness, but like
real kindness.
Yes. Yeah. Like the kindness that stops by, like, you know, we talked about partnership, like, you know, stopping by the office of the secretaries in that department you work with and just being like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, it's good to see y'all. Like, I think you as a leader get to kind of be a thermostat everywhere you go. And so setting that, like, no, like it might not have been great before I walked in here, but like, how can I be kind? How can I, you know, spend 5 extra minutes and talk football or talk whatever, and let the people that you lead know that like you genuinely care about them, and let like kindness and collaboration be in everything you do. I had a leader once. I had just started. I was working for a church curriculum company, and I'll never forget. He asked at the beginning of the meeting before we got started, and he was like, "I want everyone to go around the table, and if you're watching, feel free to steal this because I steal it all the time." And describe your mood as a condiment or a dressing. And being the cynical 20-something I was like, this is so stupid. Real leaders don't do this. But it was awesome because people would be like, I'm sriracha, or I'm like honey mustard, or like, you know, like I'm feeling sweet today. But just to hear people kind of like set the level and expectation. And, you know, I know like Brene Brown does a practice similar to this or whatnot. But I think taking those moments, like, it can be frustrating when it's like, we have a deadline and we have stuff to get done. But anytime you make something more human and like are genuinely invested in the people you serve, or the people you like share an office with, I think that goes so far. And people want to work with you. Like, you know, like the tone when you pick up the phone to ask for a favor is just so different. And so I would just say like kindness and collaboration, kindness and work, and just like a genuine caring for what you do and who you work with, just goes so far.
Yeah, so true. That's why I get along for good reasons.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, so many leaders come in and just say like, this is what I'm saying, this is how it goes. and people are not robots. I guess when you're dealing with like a machine, that's okay. But you need your people to want to be there.
Yeah.
You want them to enjoy being there. I mean, if they do, just what the return on that investment is just so big. Yeah, you can have workers that are coming in at 8:59 and leaving at 5:01.
Oh yeah.
And I really don't want to spend any extra time in the space. And I know, like in the work that we do, it affects society, and it affects a community, it affects a school, we
Yeah.
want people to feel respected and feel heard and feel cared for in that space, even though it's at will employment. You can go somewhere else and get a job. We all know this. But you want people that are invested in the space and care also.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, like the way someone feels when they see your name come up on their cell phone, or just even like, even in those moments where it's like, okay, like I need to lead, and I need you to like have my back, and
Yeah.
like not, and not like, I need to be up front, and I need you supporting me behind. It's like those people will bend over backwards to help you, because like, having been in that role for a long time as well. I think just builds trust and camaraderie. And I think also like, too, like getting out of the way, like, when you can and when it's appropriate, like if you're training someone or you're coaching someone and there's an opportunity for y'all to like tag team a presentation, or for that intern to kind of get a moment to like get some confidence. I don't know what the word for that is, but I think sometimes we're like, this is my moment and I have to hang on to this, and then their moment will come. I think I have learned from leaders who have made space for me. And I think, when we're in a space, especially as a female leader, like make space for other women, or make space for other folks to have a voice, or to be a part of what you're doing. And it just goes a long way. So I would tie that into that as well.
Yeah. Leading from behind,
Mm-hmm.
putting others in front of you. If you're just always charging the way, how can other people have a voice? How can other people have a spotlight? I think when we shed some of that, like, oh, I have to do these things to be a leader.
Yeah.
That's when you can really start to care for people. And to your point about trust, I mean, we didn't even get into trust, but I mean, how can you know if someone's going to have your back, or how can you build relationship with a staff person? When you think about leading groups of people or teams, somebody needs to take off. What if somebody's having health issues? They don't feel comfortable divulging everything yet, but they're taking off work here and there, and you don't have a close working relationship where there is trust. Then assumptions begin to happen and spirals begin to happen. Yeah, I work with teams all the time around that. Just building the trust, and it usually comes down to communication and reminding ourselves that, hey, we're all human.
Yes.
People are all trying to do their best, and leading
exactly. Yeah. And we're not all going to work together forever, right? Like we look at the data, like people, like, some people have micro careers in multiple different industries. You're going to be somewhere, hopefully for a while, right? Don't you want that while to be as best as it can? You know what I mean? Best as it can. Like, I worked at another chamber. I still have great relationships with some of the folks there. I think cultivating that kindness, or wherever you're going to be, like be there, like, with both feet, and show up for your folks. And, sometimes it's spending an extra 5 minutes somewhere that maybe you're like, man, it would really be nice to go grab a cup of coffee before this, but taking that time to just invest, or to have that conversation, or hear somebody out, or even encourage somebody who maybe is at a different level than you, but just needs to feel heard. I think those are the true attributes of a leader. Like accolades and stuff are cool, but like the way people feel when you walk in a room makes all the difference.
Yes. Or what do they say when you're not in the room?
Yes.
Fingers
crossed it's good, but.
Well, we are coming up on our time together, Amber. I just want to say thank you so much for being here today and sharing all of this with our guests. I see a lot of folks posting in the chat. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks. And we
Yes,
hope
the Power Lab.
then. Yeah. The Power Lab is next week. And then we have another Unmuted podcast the week after. So
Awesome.
we're busy. So keep posted and join us. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I always do this. The QR code on the screen is for the newsletter. If you want to stay connected to resources, sign up. They're very targeted newsletters that really just have resources in them for folks. So if you're interested, sign up, and then we'll see you soon. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.